Listen closely, my friends. Happiness is not something that happens to you. It is something you build every single day. In the specific choices you make, about what you think about, what you focus on, what you decide matters, and what you decide does not. And I know that sounds simple, maybe even too simple. Because if you are honest right now, there are things in your life that feel like they are standing between you and happiness, the situation that has not resolved, the relationship that is complicated, the goal that is taking longer than you expected, the version of your life that was supposed to be here by now, and is not. And those things are real. I am not going to pretend they are not. But here is what I want you to consider. Those things have been there before, in different forms, with different names. And there have been moments, even in the middle of them, where you felt something close to happiness, a conversation that made you laugh unexpectedly, a morning that felt different, a moment of genuine peace, in the middle of everything still unresolved. And those moments were not accidents. They were glimpses of something, of the version of happiness that does not require the situation to change first. That is what we are building today, the trained mind. The mind that knows how to find happiness, not when things are perfect, but in the middle of the imperfect, ordinary, sometimes difficult life you are already living. The Stoics had a specific understanding of happiness. They did not call it happiness, they called it eudaimonia. And the translation most people use, happiness, is actually not quite right. The better translation is flourishing, the life that is actively flourishing, not the life that feels good all the time, not the life without difficulty. The life that is genuinely engaged, with purpose, with presence, with the daily practice of being the person you are choosing to become. And here is the most important thing about eudaimonia. The Stoics believed it was not a destination, it was not something you arrived at when the circumstances finally cooperated. It was a practice, a daily returning to the specific habits of mind that make flourishing possible, regardless of what is happening outside. Those habits are what this video is about. Habit 1. Start every day by choosing your perspective, before the day chooses it for you. Here is what happens to most people in the morning. They wake up, and immediately, before they have had a single conscious thought, the day begins to choose their perspective for them. The news chooses it. The notification chooses it. The first message that arrives, with its urgency and its demand, chooses it. And the perspective chosen by the news, or the notification, or the urgent message, is almost never the perspective that leads to a good day. The Stoics began differently. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." He chose his perspective before anything else got to choose it for him. And the perspective he chose was gratitude, not the generic gratitude of someone saying the words. The genuine gratitude of someone who understood that the morning itself, this specific morning, was not guaranteed, was a gift, was something worth actually noticing. Here is the practice. Before you reach for the phone tomorrow morning, before the news, before the notification, take 30 seconds, just 30, and think of one specific thing that is genuinely good in your life. Not the big things. Not the life philosophy gratitude, something small and real, the person still sleeping next to you, the coffee that is about to be made. The specific ordinary good thing that your life contains right now that you have been walking past without seeing. That 30-second choice, made before anything else, changes what the mind is looking for the rest of the day, and the mind that is looking forward finds more of it every time. Habit 2. Stop comparing your life to the wrong things. This is the habit that, once understood, removes a specific and significant source of unhappiness almost immediately, because here is what comparison does. It takes the life you have, with all its genuine good, and measures it against something else. The highlight reel of someone whose struggles are invisible. The version of your own life that was supposed to happen, but did not, the imagined life of the person who seems to have more, better, easier. And the comparison, every single time, makes what you have feel insufficient. Not because it is, because comparison is not designed to produce gratitude. It is designed to produce wanting. Epictetus said, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are." That is not resignation. That is the most radical reframe available. Not, "This is not what I wanted," but "This is what I have." And what I have, seen clearly, without the distortion of comparison, is almost always more than the comparison made it seem. Here is the practice. When you notice comparison arriving, when you catch yourself measuring your life against someone else's, or against the version that was supposed to happen, ask one question. What is genuinely good about where I actually am, not where you wished you were, where you actually are? And then, name it specifically, because the specifically named good is the antidote to comparison. Every time, habit 3, one moment of real beauty every day. The Stoics believed that beauty was everywhere, not the grand dramatic beauty of special occasions, the ordinary beauty of the everyday. The specific quality of light in the late afternoon, the sound of rain on a roof, the way a conversation can turn unexpectedly warm, the smell of something cooking, the specific feeling of being genuinely tired. From a day that was worth being tired by Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Dwell on the beauty of life, watch the stars, and see yourself running with them." He was not being poetic for the sake of it. He was describing a practice. The deliberate practice of noticing beauty in the specific ordinary moments that pass unnoticed, when the mind is too busy with everything else to see them. And here is why this matters for happiness. The brain, by design, is wired to notice problems, to scan for threats, to give more attention to what is wrong than to what is right. It is called the negativity bias, and it was useful when the threats were physical, lions, famine, danger. But in modern life, where the threats are mostly not physical, the negativity bias just makes the ordinary day feel worse than it is. The deliberate practice of finding beauty, of actively noticing what is genuinely good and alive and present, is the specific counterweight to the negativity bias. It does not eliminate the problems. It balances the picture, and the balanced picture is where happiness lives, not in the absence of problems, in the balanced seeing of a life that contains both. Habit 4. Practice wanting what you already have. This is the most counterintuitive habit on this list, and the most transformative, because the entire structure of modern life is built on wanting more, the next thing, the better version, the upgrade, the goal not yet reached, the life not yet arrived. And wanting more is not wrong. Ambition is not wrong. Growth is not wrong. But the specific wanting that is never satisfied, the wanting that makes every arrival feel insufficient, the wanting that moves the goalpost every time you reach it, that wanting is the enemy of happiness. Not because you should want nothing, because the wanting that has no flaw can never produce the feeling it promises. The Stoics had a practice for this. They called it negative visualization. The deliberate practice of imagining, not dramatically, not anxiously, what it would be like to not have what you have, to imagine the person you love not being there, to imagine the health you have not being available, to imagine the ordinary day simply not happening, not to create fear, to create gratitude. Because the mind that has genuinely considered the absence returns to the presence of the thing with completely different eyes. Seneca wrote, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for what he has not, but rejoices for what he has." Practice rejoicing, specifically, daily, for what is already here. And watch what happens to the wanting when the having becomes genuinely enough. Habit 5. Do something meaningful every single day. This is the habit that fills the deepest emptiness. Because here is something the Stoics understood, and modern psychology confirms: the happiness that comes from pleasure, from comfort, from ease and entertainment and passive enjoyment is real. But it is short. It does not last, it does not build, and chasing it exclusively produces a specific and common kind of unhappiness, the emptiness of a life that was comfortable but not meaningful, the specific dissatisfaction of someone who had everything but never did anything that mattered. The Stoics called the deeper happiness eudaimonia, the flourishing that comes from living in alignment with your values, from doing the work that is genuinely yours, from contributing something, however small, to someone beyond yourself, and the daily practice of that, one meaningful thing done every day, not for recognition, not for reward, but because it is the right thing to do, is the specific practice of the happiness that lasts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one every day in the small, specific, ordinary moments. That is meaning." And meaning is the foundation of lasting happiness. Habit 6. Connect with people. Really connect, not the performance of connection. Not the scroll through other people's lives. That feels like connection, but leaves you feeling more alone than before. Real connection, the conversation that goes somewhere honest, the presence that is actually present, the specific quality of being with someone, in a way that they can feel, and you can feel, that something real is happening between you. Seneca wrote, "One of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood, to understand and to be understood." That specific quality of genuine mutual understanding is one of the most reliable sources of happiness available, and it is almost never found in the passive consumption of other people's curated lives. It is found in the actual conversation, the actual presence, the actual risk of being honest with someone who might be honest back. Here is the practice every day. Find one moment of real connection. Not a long conversation necessarily, not a deep philosophical exchange, just one moment with one person where you are actually there, actually present, actually interested in what they are experiencing, and actually willing to share something real yourself. That moment, one a day, every day, builds the specific quality of connection that the Stoics understood was essential to the good life. Habit 7. Accept that difficulty is part of the life, not an interruption to it. This is the habit that changes everything about how hardship feels, because here is the thing that most people do with difficulty. They treat it as a problem, as something that should not be happening, as an interruption to the life they were supposed to be living. And the treatment of difficulty as interruption adds a layer of suffering on top of the original difficulty. That was never necessary, not the difficulty itself, the resistance to it. The why is this happening? The this is not supposed to be my life. The additional suffering of believing that the difficulty means something is wrong. The Stoics had a different relationship with difficulty. They expected it, they prepared for it, and when it arrived, they met it as part of the life, not an interruption to it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The difficulty, the obstacle, the thing that feels like it is blocking your happiness, is not blocking it. It is the path to the specific version of yourself that the comfortable life could never have built. And here is the practice. When difficulty arrives, and it will, ask not, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What is this building in me?" That single question changes the entire relationship between you and the difficulty, from victim of it to student of it. And the student of difficulty is almost always happier than the person who spent the same difficulty waiting for it to end. So the real life could begin. The real life is already here, in the difficulty. And in the specific growth, that only the difficulty could have produced. Habit 8. End every day with honesty. This is the habit that closes the loop, that turns a day into something examined, something learned from, something that contributes to the slow building of the kind of happiness that compounds. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal every evening, not to celebrate, not to punish, to examine. Where was I today? Did I act from my values? Did I choose my response? Or did I react from impulse? Did I notice the beauty? Did I practice the gratitude? Did I do the meaningful thing? Did I connect genuinely with even one person? Did I meet the difficulty as part of the life, rather than an interruption to it? Not all of those questions, one honest question, every evening before sleep. How did I meet today? And then, whatever the honest answer, not as punishment, as information, as the specific data point that shapes tomorrow. Because the examined day, the day that ends with honest reflection, is the day that builds, not just passes. And the life made of days that build is the life that looks back and sees something genuinely worth having lived. That is the happiness worth building, not the feeling. The life. Listen closely, my friends. One final time, the Stoics were not trying to teach you how to feel happy. They were trying to teach you how to live well. And they believed, with complete philosophical conviction, that the life lived well, the examined life, the life of genuine engagement and honest reflection and daily practice and real connection and meaningful work and gratitude for what is already here, produces happiness, not as a side effect, as a natural consequence, the way a tree that is properly rooted and properly watered and properly turned toward the light cannot help but grow. You are the tree. These 8 habits are the roots, the water, and the light. Practice them every day, not perfectly, consistently, and watch what grows. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The strength he was describing is not the strength of someone who forces happiness. It is the strength of someone who builds the conditions for it, daily, quickly, one habit at a time. That strength is available to you, starting tomorrow morning, before you reach for the phone. In the 30 seconds before the day begins, choose the perspective. That is where it starts. If this gave you something worth starting tomorrow, share it with someone who needs to know that happiness is not something that happens to you. It is something you build. Subscribe for new Stoic wisdom every single week.